Tell me that you have seen all of these amazing bioluminescent beaches in photos and videos and had these on your bucket list. I know I have. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am making a resin beachscape using the actual organisms that create this effect. For real. If this doesn't make you want to watch this video, I don't know what will. Let's get to it. So first things first, let me introduce these little creatures. They are called pyrodinos. These are from this company called Pyro Farms. They culture them and then they are able to ship these out, and they have a kit. So this is what the kit looks like. It has all the information to keep them alive and thriving. I have a sphere that it came with. So you basically put your pyrodino mixture, well, not mixture, but the liquid into this sphere, and essentially it should light up in the dark. But before we do any of that, and before I show you what they look like when they glow, we are going to create a beachscape with resin. And I'm starting off with this mold by Molds and Shapes, and my idea is that I have this acrylic dome that I'm going to use to make basically a beachscape dome to be able to put the pyrodinos into, but we'll see how this goes. But what I'm doing at first is mixing up some sand in some epoxy resin in my Jade Diction Officials resin, all links in the description below. And basically I want to create a base of sand on this mold. That's all I'm doing. And once I have the resin and sand mixture in the mold, I'm just sprinkling in some sand on top as well. And I'm also adding a few shells around the bottom side of it. Once this was set, I decided that I want to give it a little bit more of a sandy texture. So I've just mixed up some UV resin, and I'm mixing up some sand again in it with a few shells and just kind of giving it a rough, sandy, beachy texture, because the rest of it looks quite evenly surfaced, which is not usually how beaches are. So that's me adding in some sand texture to make it look a bit more realistic. Once all of that is dry, I am ready to get this out of the mold, and we are ready to create our ocean waves. Now, you've probably seen me create ocean waves with resin quite a few times. The way I like to do it, I like to put down a layer of clear at the front by the shore, and then I usually mix up like a couple of shades of blue, moving lighter to the darkest on top, just like an ocean, how it gets dark further away. Well, it appears to look dark, and then I just like to sort of kind of blend it together. I've mixed up my white, and then I'm just gonna pour down a thin line along the clear and use my heat gun and blow out some waves. If you do want a full length tutorial on how I do my waves, there's another video on my playlist where I did a massive beach oceanscape painting, so go check that out. But basically, once I've blown them out, I'm just gonna give them a little torch, which kind of activates the pigment and in the resin and creates that sort of foamy looking effect that we want, that resembles a vase. So I'm gonna let this set, and we're gonna be back for another layer. Now, this is my second layer. I do want this piece to have a ton of depth, and I'm literally repeating the same steps as my previous step of the way I create the vase. Right, so that's my number 2 wave down. I think I will do another one. So once again, I'm gonna show you a really sped up version of how I do my last and final wave, or so I think, but we'll see how this goes. So that's that, and yeah, I'm gonna let this to cure, and then we can move on to some more exciting bits. Okay, so now it's time to work on the actual dome. I have this acrylic dome from somewhere, I can't even remember where, and this would be perfect for this video, which is why I chose this mold, so I can create the base and then put the acrylic dome on top and then more resin around it, and then that conceals it, if that makes sense. So then I have the beach base and I have a dome on top which will contain any liquids that we put into it. So in order to put the liquids in, I'm drilling in a hole on a corner of this acrylic, and the reason I need to do this is also obviously to seal it so that the liquid can stay in without leaking, but also when we put in the pyrodinos into it, it needs to be kind of loosely lidded, so they have a bit of oxygen and a bit of light going into them to be able to stay healthy and thrive. So this way I'm going to drill a hole and create a little sort of a stopper kind of a thing, so which we can kind of put on there. So the liquid is contained and doesn't leak, but at the same time we can open it to clean or to add nutrients or, you know, do all sorts. So now this is where I'm running into issues. My initial plan isn't working. I thought I would be able to put this back into the mold, put the dome on top, and then cover the entire thing with resin. But because I have done so many waves and there's so much sand on there, this won't sit quite flat into the mold and it's not gonna work. So plan B, guys, plan B. I'm thinking I will have to trace around this and get it to an even circle, same as the dome that I have. So I'm just gonna trace this around and take this down to my bandsaw and see if I can get it into a circle and take those curved edges off. Also, while I'm doing that, I want to remind you that make sure you like, comment, sub, all of the usual things. I really appreciate all of your support, and then it's literally what helps me make more fun, interesting videos like this. So really appreciate it, and I love to hear from you guys. Okay, so now that that's cut to size, I can move on to sealing it. So we obviously have to attach the base to the dome. So I'm thinking I'm going to use UV resin all around the edge of this. It's going to take me a while, I know, but we're going to do that, and that is basically to seal the entire outline.
One eternity later.
And once that's cured, I'm going to take this down to my lumberjack sander and sand all of those awkward UV resin edges and all of the uneven edges that I have from my previous bandsaw cuts, so we can get a nice clean rounded edge.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to move on to the next step. I need to basically give this a nice coat of resin to bring back the shine, because remember we sanded down the edges and it all looks quite scuffed up.
That
I can't talk today. It all looks quite scuffed up and rough, so we need to bring that shine and make it smooth. So a nice coat of resin would do the trick. But before I do that, I need to close the little hole that we drilled. So I'm just using some silicone putty and making a little ball out of it and then putting that in the hole, so that when we do the coat, resin doesn't get inside of the dome. Another thing I'm going to do before doing the top coat is latex out the back side, just because I've already sanded this once for the drips and I don't want to have to sand it again. So we're just going to use some liquid latex, and that will take care of any drips. That can just be peeled off nice and easy after. And if you don't have liquid latex, PVA glue works just as fine, but I have a ton of latex lying around, so I'm just using that, and I'm just using my hands, guys. Because you know what? The other fun thing after using liquid latex is to peel off the dried latex off your fingers.
Why?
I don't know, is it just me? I find that satisfying.
she's a weirdo, and that's all I need to know.
Okay, so the latex is now dry. I have mixed up some clear resin and I'm just doing a flood coat over this. So this again wasn't part of the plan, but my brain now is thinking that I want to do one more wave, just one more.
It never ends.
Because hear me out, we have the waves at the bottom, and if we add another wave on top of the acrylic, it gives this layered 3D effect, which I think is going to be so cool. So I think it's going to be worth it. I think I definitely want to do another wave, so bear with me, guys. Okay, I am in love with how this is looking already. Absolutely love it. It looks super three-dimensional and I'm so happy. Time to peel off the latex once everything's dry, and like I said, this is super satisfying to do, guys. So I'm going to take some time and do that and be back once it's done.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, so now that that's sorted, I want to add some shells around the bottom just because we need to cover up the hole that we made. So I'm thinking I'm gonna set in a plug into one of the shells so it's concealed. So basically one of the shells is a plug, and then that way it doesn't look awkward and weird and we don't have some strange knob over there. And then we'll just add a few shells around it. So yeah, it looks like it's meant to be. And I'm just gonna use some UV resin to do that because it's quick and easy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is add some water into this and give this dome a good clean out. We're gonna rinse it out a good few times because it's nearly time to add the pyrodinos, and I do not want any dust and resin dust and sanding dust and particles in there. So I've given that a good clean out, and what I want to do now is just hot glue some shells around it so it looks intentional and it looks like a little cluster of shells on the side. Okay, now it's time, you guys. It is time to put the pyrodinos in and see some magic. I am so excited. Okay, so I've opened up the pouch. So I decided to use a pipette, and that way I can pipette from the pouch into the dome. Okay, so it did take me quite a while to fill out this, but can I tell you guys, it is so worth it. Are you ready? I think this has to be the most exciting and magical thing that I have made or seen recently in my adult life. Like, seriously, wow. So, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Time to turn down the lights and see the magic. Oh my God, can you see that blue glow? It is so incredible. I do not have words to describe it, honestly, you guys. So the thing about these pyrodinos is when you swirl them at nighttime is when they glow, and it is looking absolutely stunning as I move this water around. Now, I did take a few different videos, some of these in complete darkness, some of these in when it's still like evening and it's not completely dark, so you can still see the beach and you can still see the dinos glowing, and the footage does not do justice to how magical this is. Absolutely, absolutely mind-blowing. I had no idea something like this existed, and I had no idea it worked. So I'm going to link down pyrodinos in the description below along with my discount code. Now, I did make the resin dome myself, but they do have kits that supply the sphere and a few of the other containers, glass containers and accents that you can hold the pyrodinos in. So yeah, go check them out if you want this for your living room. And could you imagine how much kids would love this? They would absolutely go bonkers over this. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.